Everybody needs someone to talk to. Everybody needs a safe place where they can be themselves, be transparent, be vulnerable, be open without consequence, without lashing out, without it being drama, without it haunting them and following them and being gossiped about, especially children. Today, we're going to talk about how to create a safe space for children specifically. This can be therapy, and this can be with you as a parent or guardian, or if you're an educator or in a field where you work with younger children. I am going to be looking at my notes if you see me looking down, so let's get into it. First, we need to consider having do you have unrealistic expectations for children or for your child? When I say unrealistic expectations for this particular video, I'm talking about what you are asking of them versus what is possible. Again, going back to my previous videos about what is possible based on their developmental age. What I'm saying in regards to creating a safe space, if you are wanting your children to have regulated emotions, you need to be demonstrating yourself regulating these emotions. Here's an example. A lot of times, if a child is having a bad day, it is very easy because we're tired and we're busy and we're pressed for time that a parent may get impatient or snappy depending on your personality and your anger issues. We may overreact and what are you doing this for? And we're going off or we're being short or we're being witty and you have nothing to worry about and you're a child and nothing's wrong and you don't have anything to worry about and at least you don't have bills or whatever you say, even if it's not those specific things. But a child having a bad day or being in a bad mood, if you grew up hearing, what are you crying for? I'm going to give you something to cry. Let's talk about that. This rant was going to come up either way. If you say, stop crying before I give you something to cry about, that is dumb. I'm just going to keep it real. That makes no sense. You're telling me you don't want to hear this child crying, but they are already crying, so you were going to make them cry? Are you okay? You are just exercising power. You may be a bully. You were literally threatening them to inflict harm just because you don't want them to cry. Therefore, you're going to do something so that you feel justified about them crying because them crying doesn't make sense to you. Do you hear how that sounds? I don't get why you're crying, so let me make you cry. Is that love? Is that patience? Is that kindness? Like, make it make sense. There's nobody else in the world. If you had a friend, your spouse, your parent was upset, you weren't going to be like, smile or I'm going to give you a reason to frown. Like, that, regulate your emotions as an adult. Let's go back to the original topic. So, when it comes to regulating emotions, you have bad days too. And so, in the same way you have bad days, kids do too. They are human, they're just young. They have feelings, they work, and they should be allowed to use them and express them. And it is your job to teach them how to regulate them and to identify them, to express them so that they can manage them in a healthy way. This cannot be done if you are unable to do that. So if the moment your child does something you don't like, you snatch them, you pop them, you hit them, your emotions aren't regulated. You're triggered by them and their unwanted behavior. Is their behavior what you want or right? Maybe not. But is your reaction right? Probably not either if you are overreacting in that way. But then teaching your kids or fussing at your kids and expecting them to act differently. But I have to ask you, if you are throwing a tantrum and you having a bad day and you slamming doors and you yelling and you cursing and you whatever else you're doing, who's the kid? Which one of y'all is acting like a child? They're probably acting their age and you are also acting their age, but you're going to get upset when they're acting their age. But you act like that all the time. So now they're probably learning this behavior from you. And then you may want to say, well, I'm an adult. I can do what I want. I pay the bills. That's just a certain power and authority. That is very domineering and it's not really appropriate. And it doesn't even actually make logical sense, and it will not get you to your desired outcome. And so do not expect your kids to do things you cannot do and do not do. Now, should kids be able to do this? Yes, but somebody has to teach them. So when I'm saying unrealistic expectations, it's not realistic to expect your child to demonstrate regulating their emotions or self-soothing when you have not taught them this, and or you do not do this yourself. And some of their feelings are valid and normal. Everybody wakes up on the wrong side of the bed sometimes. Everybody has days where they don't want to go to school or work. Talk to your kids. They're human. Tell them you know how it feels. And sometimes we all have to do stuff we want to do. They don't want to school. You don't want to go to work. We feel the same way. Let's go and have the best day we can and hurry up and get back home. Easier said than done. It will take a lot of practice, but this is important as far as creating a safe space for kids, because if you are unrelatable, as I've said in previous videos, your child will not see you as human nor relatable, and therefore will not want to talk to you, because to them you're tripping all the time. You don't get it. You don't understand them. You don't see where they come from, especially if you often say you're too young for this, or you're too young for that, or you're just a kid, and you always minimize their feelings because of their age. Just because they are younger than you does not mean they don't have feelings. They should have all the emotions and experience them, and so should you. But also, going with that, everyone needs to know how to identify them and express and communicate them in a healthy manner. Okay? And so kids will lie for a reason. And no reason, to be fair. But kids may lie for a reason. Kids are curious and they need to learn boundaries. And all of this comes from the expectations you put on them. If your expectations are unrealistic, they're more likely to lie. But again, because you were not relatable, you were not understanding. So I have parents who tell me all the time, why would my kid tell me that? That's so silly or that's so dumb. Well, how have you acted when they've told you other things that were small and minute? Did you overreact? Did you try to ground them until they graduate from high school? If you did those things that do not make sense, yes, they're a child, but remember, they're not dumb. And they're going to make sense of it based on their baby brains at their age appropriate developmental level. Then they will just lie to you because you don't get it. And these are things you should be able to get if you regulate your own emotions. This is not 100%, nor nothing is, so take what applies and leave the rest. Okay? Another thing to consider is kids will protect themselves from your reaction, as I just kind of referred to. If, and this goes in general, just be open-minded here. When people lie, because everybody lies, even if it's a white lie, first sometimes, for some reason or another, we always think, if we told this person the truth, how they respond, I don't want to deal with that right now. Or it is not going to benefit me, or I will not like the reaction. That's the reason people lie, because it makes us feel better at the time or to delay consequences. Kids will do the same thing. If the last time they told you the truth, you didn't give them no grace or no mercy, they may not never tell you the truth again. Like, let's just keep it real. And I had to experience this with my child. There's a lot of things I wish I didn't knew. I'm glad I knew, but hearing it was hard. But over time, I had to learn, if I wanted my son to be open, that I would have to be able to stomach the truth. And so by the time he got to maybe middle school, his punishments would vary. It would be less severe, or his consequences, I should say, because I don't punish him. We're going to talk about punishment versus consequences in another video. But my reaction to what happened would vary based on if he told the truth. So around middle school, I had this rule: tell me everything, don't leave anything out. Anything the teacher or whoever's going to call me from school is going to say, you need to say the same thing. If not, give me a little more detail. Don't leave anything out. And if you leave something out, then your consequence would differ for lying. You not only misbehaved, but you lied as well, and lying is unacceptable. Therefore, there will be a consequence for you lying in addition to what you did to get in trouble at school. However, if you told the truth, he is now accepting accountability and taking accountability and accepting responsibility for his actions and admitting them, which is hard. and grown-ups struggle to do this even to their children who can't do nothing to them, then because I want to instill that and teach him that that is the right thing to do, then his consequence will not be as severe, right? If he lies, if he got in trouble, he did whatever he did, and he lies about it, say maybe he loses his phone for 2 weeks. But if he tells the truth, owns up to it, we talk about it, we have a teachable moment, we talk about, he can say what he should have done differently, why it was wrong, and all these things. Again, age appropriate conversation. So this will vary based on the age of your child. Again, this example is when my son was in middle school. Then I would tell him, I may still tell him it was 2 weeks, but at the end of the day, I might let him off a few days earlier, just a week, because I say, hey, you know what? I appreciate you owning up, telling the truth. So I'm going to let you off the hook, because that is actually real world. People get out of jail for good behavior. People may only get written up instead of fired at work. You may only have detention instead of getting suspended at school. So this crosses all areas and stages of life. Of telling the truth does have benefits. You still are responsible for your choices, because the thing is, we have the freedom of choice and the freedom of speech, which people are taking advantage of, but you don't get to choose your consequences. But however, even if you consider, if you go to jail, sometimes pleading guilty does give you a less severe punishment, because you owned up to it. You took accountability for it. And I want to teach him things that are applicable to the real world, not just my house and my rules. And so you need to be teaching lessons that will transcend outside of your house and go with them as they get older and develop. And so by doing this, my son learned it was better for him to tell the truth. And that's what I wanted to teach him. He still got consequences for doing something he was not supposed to, but it would have been worse off, which it usually is. Because the thing is, even when people think they're getting away with lying, it catches up to them. And one, you have to remember what you're lying about, and that's never fun. And then two, by the time everything comes to a head, things are usually so much more worse. Just think about that even as an adult. Lying never ends well, even if it goes well for a while. And I didn't want him practicing lying. And so when it comes to creating a safe space for your child, you need to create a safe space for them to tell the truth. Regulate your emotions. And so it would come to times, my son, as he got older, actually, he would say, can you just listen? I already know what I did wrong. I'm going to tell you everything I did and what I did wrong, and he would just bring it to me. And I was appreciate that, because I didn't have to go looking for the truth. I'm not emailing teachers, calling this person and putting all the stories together and what's true and what's not and when did it happen, because he laid it out for me. And if he and every time he did this, he never left stuff out, and he usually gave me more information than the person giving me information. And a lot of times he would tell me stuff the school wouldn't even call. He would just text me, hey, if somebody calls you, I didn't go to fourth period because I went to this other class to hang with a friend. Whatever it was, he just owned up to it, and that's what I prefer. But again, I didn't teach him he can get away with anything, because there was still consequences. So my son now feels safe to tell me the truth, even if it will disappoint me, because he did not see my disappointment as I no longer love him or I no longer wanted him, because I didn't react in such a way that made him feel it was better for him to hide it. Hope that makes sense. I know I use a lot of words. In addition to that, it is important for you to control your frustration, um, be, for different of experiences. So what I mean by that, that's how I wrote it to remind me of what I wanted to say, is a lot of times when we are trying to be relatable, we tell our kids, oh, I've been 15 before, I was 10 before. Yes. I think we all need to take a moment to admit and acknowledge what life was like when we were 10. If you were my age group, I'm a millennial, and they're 10, different worlds, different things. So as much as you did, or the way you acted and thought and felt at 10 may be similar, it may not be the same, and you need to be open to the fact that their experiences are different. And I bring this up because a lot of parents, again, kind of have unrealistic ideals of what it's like to be that age, because you're seeing things from an adult point of view. These kids are acting their age a lot of times, and or acting like you or other people they've been around. But in general, they're still interpreting and understanding the world at their age level. And so whatever they take as a 10-year-old, they're going to respond like a 10-year-old 9 times out of 10. So you at your big age cannot say, well, when I was 10, da da da, da, unless you're having a teachable moment. Other than that, they're not trying to hear that because you don't know what it's like for them to be 10. Because guess what? When you were 10, you had friends that were also 10. Y'all didn't have the same life and the same experiences when y'all were both 10. So just imagine with all the things that have changed in the world now and how times have changed, your 10 and their 10 could also be very different. It could be some similarities. This child may remind you a lot of you, but it's still not the same as you. It's a different version. So you need to be open-minded because that way if you're open-minded and you're curious, your kids will say, at least you have some sense and you're hearing them out. That's why they don't want to talk to you because you don't listen and you don't even talk to them. You talk at them. And when you're talking at them, you're speaking completely over their head and you're disregarding everything they're thinking, feeling, saying in their personal experiences because you're too focused on your experiences instead of theirs. And that's not fair. The next thing is this one is a personal difficult favorite. When we take things personal, when they disappoint us, and then we react emotionally. I will tell you, I'm the queen of the moment my son does the simplest things, and I'm grateful that he is doing well overall. He's not perfect, which I have to remind myself he's a child, he's learning and he's curious, and I want you to remind yourself of that too. But when he does do something, especially if I've warned him, I'm like, what did I do wrong? How did I fail him? What could I have done differently? I wish I had more help and I wish I had rope raised him. And if this, I'm shoulda, coulda, woulda in myself, pitying myself to death. I'm having meltdowns in my bed, calling people. Sometimes I cried even of just beating myself up. The reality is they're going to make mistakes. You make mistakes. We all do stuff. We all be speeding. Maybe not all, but most of us speed. We know it's wrong. We know it's against the law. We know we can get a ticket. And then we'd be shocked if we get pulled over like, oh, I didn't know this. Knowing you. So being realistic, we need to apply that to our children. But if you've given it your all and you know how much you've sacrificed for your child, naturally we kind of automatically take it personally when they do things we don't want them to do or get in trouble. And that even comes if someone calls you from school, we feel embarrassed. That is a personal problem. Your kids are acting like kids. Kids will disappoint and embarrass you over and over. That's what they put on this earth to do, to humble us as adults because we be losing the plot. That's what they're here to do. So we just got to learn from the experience. And I'm talking to myself as someone who's been through this, and I know I'm going to go through it again at some point in time during my parenting journey of parenthood. It is not personal. At some point, you have to understand that you transition from teaching your kids to just kind of coaching them. By the time they get to high school, they know right from wrong if you taught it to them. They know there's consequences to their actions. There's so many things they should have learned by now, assuming that they did, that they're kind of free to make their own choice, similar to when they were toddlers. You tell them to do something, they say no or do what they want to do. They do that again at teenagers. It's so difficult raising kids. If they make a poor choice, it is a personal decision. Now, if they are getting a lick back or being vindictive or malicious towards you, that is different. That's a different topic for a different day. If you piss them off and they trying to one up you, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying in general, they live in their life, you live in your life. Next thing you know, you find out they did something and you're upset about it. 9 times out of 10, in normal circumstances, they didn't do this to upset you or piss you off. They didn't do it to intentionally get in trouble. Because then we'll get in our head like, oh, you knew you would get grounded, so why would you do it? Why would you do something that you know would get your phone taken? Whatever it is. They didn't do it for that reason. They did it because they're curious. They did it because they're kids. They did it because people do dumb stuff. They're human. They make mistakes. Does that mean there should not be consequences? No, don't misunderstand me. But I'm saying as far as the parent, we should not automatically say, oh, I failed them, because that is not always the case. Could we have failed them in some ways? Yes. Could we have let them down in some ways? Yes. Are there things we could have done differently? Yes. So at most you say, is there some course correction here? Are there some behaviors I might have enabled that I should have addressed sooner? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes those kids are just doing what they want to do, and it is not fun and it's not exciting. So practice delaying your responses. This is part of regulating your emotions. If your child does something and you feel the rage and the wrath coming upon you, take a break. Don't respond immediately. Don't respond when emotions are high. In the same way you want to teach your kids, don't respond when emotions are high. Take a step, take a break, take a day or two if you need it. Get your feelings in check and then get your thoughts in order and come back and have a cohesive and appropriate and respectful conversation with your child about what they did wrong, maybe how you feel about it, if it's not manipulative or controlling, and next steps, where we're going from here. As a result, this is going to happen. You cannot go out with your friends this weekend, whatever it is. Take your time to respond, because that initial response, you are probably triggered if you've taken it personally. You also need to consider, why do you even feel triggered? Why are you taking their behavior as a reflection of you? Yes, it can be embarrassing because on the outside people may be wondering, oh, what kind of parent are they, or what do they allow these kids to do, or what are they teaching those kids? That's more applies when they're younger. Anybody that has a teenager, no, teenagers do what they want to do, regardless how they were raised. Children are curious. People are curious. We change our fashion sense all the time. We change our habits. We're all influenced by social media. You're buying stuff you don't really like or want from social media because of stuff you see. You're easily influenced too. Kids are kids. They're human. They do the same things you do, just at their level. So again, be open-minded and be understanding. Check yourself first. I think that's been a theme in a lot of my videos so far, is a lot of things that upset you when it comes to parenting. Those triggers are your responsibility. You need to appropriately address those triggers so you can appropriately address your child's misbehavior or unwanted behavior. And the behaviors that you don't want of your child, you also should check why you don't want them. Is that a legitimate thing? Is it social? Is it cultural? Or are you being too hard? Are you being too strict? Are you being unrealistic? I don't know. You have to ask yourself those questions. But if you keep all these things in mind, I can guarantee you your child will find it a lot easier and maybe even more enjoyable to talk to you, and your child would appreciate it. Children often wish they could talk to their parents about stuff, but they've learned that they can't, so they don't, and they've become okay with that. And by the time parents realize that or want to do something, the kids have given up on you. And so don't let that be you if you can help it.